The Sangha is invited to come back to our breathing so that the collective energy of mindfulness will bring us together as an organism, going as a river with no more separation. Let the whole Sangha breathe as one body, chant as one body, listen as one body, transcending the boundaries of a delusive self, liberating us from the superiority complex, the inferiority complex, and the equality complex.
May all things be protected and safe. May all things born in each of the four ways live in a land of purity. May all in the three realms be born upon lotus thrones. May countless wandering souls realize the three virtuous positions of the Bodhisattva path. May all living beings with grace and ease fulfill the Bodhisattva stages. The countenance of the world honored one, like the full moon, or like the orb of the sun, shines with the light of clarity, a halo of wisdom spreads in every direction, enveloping all.
Dear respected Tay, dear brothers and sisters, dear family, before we begin, I'd like to introduce Dave, who's sitting next to me. Dave and I are fortunate to be taking care of the children's program along with 6 or 7 other brothers and sisters. And Dave shared that he's been to probably at least over 20 retreats, literally. So he's been with our Sangha for a while, a long time, maybe even longer than some of us in the monastic community. And I've had the pleasure of seeing his children, Cooper and Ella, grow up in the Sangha's embrace for at least 6 or 7 of those years at Blue Cliff. So we're very fortunate to have Dave be a regular participant of our summer programs and to see his family, just like many of your families, growing up with Blue Cliff, with the Blue Cliff family. And my name is Sister True Vow. I've been here since Blue Cliff opened in 2007. And one of my joys is to see the development of Blue Cliff to become, with time, more and more of a place of refuge for many people, many familiar faces coming back year after year. So I would like to share with you a couple of childhood memories as to start. I remember a very happy moment when I was probably 4 or 5, playing in the house and running around as kids do. And I remember playing by myself and trying to engage my mom in a game. My mom is a very quiet and observant person. She offers her love in a very deep but very subtle way. So I tried to engage her in a game of hide and seek, but she seemed busy, so I was just playing by myself. And as I turned the corner of the dining room, suddenly she popped out behind the cabinet and scared me. And I remember that moment. I will remember that all my life, because I was both scared and shocked and surprised and delighted that my mom was suddenly there and fully engaged. And it's a memory that I hold dear to this day. So she scared me, and then she grabbed me and pulled me in and hugged me. It was a very small, short interaction. And I don't even know if she remembers, but I certainly do. I think childhood impressions, they go very deep. Sometimes we don't know just how deeply nourishing they can be for the young ones. Also, another memory from my childhood I'd like to share. Actually, this was in my high school years. So when I started growing up, when I hit puberty, and socially, emotionally, mentally, things began to change inside of me and in my classmates, my peers, I met with a lot of difficulties. And I didn't know really the language to express these difficulties with my peers and even with my parents. So I held so many things inside. I was like a diamond that kept getting harder and harder because everything was compressed inside. And my parents, they had concerns, but they didn't really know. They didn't really know because I wasn't able to open up. It wasn't until years later, when I had the space with the practice of mindfulness to begin to touch those things inside of me, that I began to share with her, to share that I had had difficulties. And the thing that she shared back with me, also something that I will never forget, she shared that she had wished she had known at that time. Because if she had known, then she would have wanted to tell me this one thing that I know would have helped me a lot, that I was not alone. But at the time, as a teenager, I felt like I was alone. And sometimes we build our own prisons. So in my mind, I was alone, but that's what she shared with me. If I had known, I would have let you know that there's so many other folks, so many young people like you who are having those difficulties, and I myself had some of those difficulties when I was growing up. And I would have wanted you to know that so you didn't have to go through these things by yourself. So our exchange, that sharing, although it wasn't timely, but it was very healing. And it's something that I also want to continue to share back with our young friends, because we all need help to open up and touch the things inside of us. Meditation practice and coming to a sangha is to help strengthen your resilience inside, to meet the difficulties and also recognize the joys in you. And it's also to be able to recognize when you need help and ask for that help and support. And we all need a little help here and there. Thank you. One of the tools that our teacher has equipped us with is the practice of the 5 mantras. How many of us are familiar with the 5 mantras? At least 1 or 2 of them. Yeah. I am here for you. I know you're there for me. I know you're suffering. I'm suffering, please help. And the last one is, this is a happy moment. And I'd like to start with the last one. This is a happy moment. Right now, we're in a very spacious place in our heart at a retreat. Thank you for bringing yourselves and your family to a wholesome environment to reconnect with the nourishing things around us and inside of us. We're in a space that allows us to recognize that this is really a happy moment with all the things that may be going on at home or inside. At the same time, there are things that nourish us, just something very simple like the smile of a friend, the fact that it's not raining anymore for our tenters. I mean, these are things sometimes we brush aside, but the very small happinesses, they're the thing that allows us to find a foothold for our practice in our daily life. Nobody wants to sink their teeth into a mountain of suffering, so we have to find those pockets of peace, those moments of calm, of gratitude, in order to help that flower of mindfulness to grow. So just recognizing this is a happy moment is a very good start. In our daily life, when we have difficulties with our family, our brother or sister, or our mom or dad, it's hard sometimes to remember that we have had other experiences because that cloud has temporarily covered up that happiness. So we bring this in as a real tool. It's something that you take out and conscientiously apply. Okay, even though we've had this difficulty or argument, what can I touch in the present moment that is also a happiness, so that I can touch, so I can see the situation, see that person more holistically. And this is how we begin to work with our suffering. We need to find some relief in peace, quiet, and rest, and some nourishment in the happinesses around us. And then at the same time, we can put our hand into the difficulty. So we've, from many different sources, I've heard that beginning a new practice the other day was very fruitful, especially with the families and the children. This is exactly what we're doing. We're touching a happy moment and being able to express it with one another, to lay the groundwork for communication. Growing up, I think the thing that I lacked the most that would have helped me to touch more peace and equanimity is the tools to communicate what's going on. And the suffering in me, I didn't have a language for. I couldn't name. I could only feel it. And I could only feel it in my mind alone. So we give a gift to our loved ones when we are able to model the language of our emotions, to share out. That's why beginning a new practice is so important. That's why the 5 mantras are so important and so potentially effective, because it gives you and your loved ones the way to reconnect and touch, express what's really in your heart. Maybe a bell. Our teacher, he is very free, and so when he shares about emotions, you also feel his freedom. He says, an emotion is just an emotion. Why get upset about an emotion? Anger is just an anger, and we just need to embrace and take care of it and recognize it. But we all know that oftentimes our emotions get the better of us. We are our anger and we react immediately, or that sadness is so strong that it just drowns us, or we drown in it, and it's as if it's beyond our control. That's how to touch a real freedom when it comes to our relationship with emotions. I remember when our teacher was sharing about the rate of suicides in France, where Plum Village is, and he shared that the rate of suicide among young people is so high. Why do youths have to die because of their emotions? It's because they don't know how to handle them yet. They don't know that their emotion is just an emotion. The first time I heard that, I had a very strong reaction, because my relationship with my emotions is a lot more intimate than that. It's not free like a cloud. My thought is that, well, my emotion is there. There's a reason I'm angry or sad. It's because the situation is like that. So how can we just brush aside and say, oh, it's just an emotion? That's like negating the whole situation. You can't just brush aside a whole situation at home or school that's making you sad or upset. I didn't understand yet what Tay was trying to share about emotions. But with time I understood a little bit more that he was not trying to negate the experience, our difficulties and our sufferings, but he was trying to point out a different way of relating to that bodily, that mental feeling as it comes up, so that it doesn't control us so immediately. And again, this is a training, just like when we say, this is a happy moment. It's to conscientiously give rise to the mind of awareness. When we train our mind to recognize that an emotion is an emotion and not our whole being, we have to also conscientiously train. Young kids, children, they don't know sometimes that they're even feeling a certain emotion. As we grow older, we can start to name and recognize it in our body. We know that when we get flushed, it's embarrassment or anger. We can actually give words to it, and as we grow up, it's a freedom to be able to recognize and then to share out or to write out what we're feeling. Children who are very young, they don't yet have those tools, so it's very helpful to give them a way to touch their emotions through their body, to ask them how they're feeling in their body. And even as adults, because sometimes we are so busy, sometimes we need to go back to the basics and just come back to our body and recognize what this whole ball of stress or anger is about. Maybe the situation is too big for us to unravel, but we can start by beginning to take care of our body. We have so many ways of escaping from our body these days, and we have a lot of pressure actually to conform to a certain body image by not just the media, but by our own friends. So who will be the one to give rise to the awareness? To be beautiful just as you are. Okay? So it's a real conscientious practice that we do. When we leave this monastery, the tools we take, the language we speak in our mind, to rebuild the strength, to gain strength, to remind ourselves, to reconnect with ourselves, and just be okay with whatever is there, whether it is a very strong emotion or whether it's the kind of body that I have right now. Are we okay with it? Do we even recognize what our relationship with it is right now? So when Tay shares the first mantra about I am here for you, another way we can look at it is how we apply that for ourselves. Before we can be present for someone else, are we able to be present just for the feelings that come up? Do we push them away? Do we judge ourselves? What kind of language are we speaking when we think about who we are, what we are? So when we can practice the first mantra to really be there for ourselves, to really listen deeply without judging, to really be a friend to ourselves, we are modeling this for our younger ones, for the next generation. So the mantras go very deeply. It's not just a matter of saying it and expecting it will work. This is what we share with the children. They are magic words only if you really feel it from inside out. You cannot just say, I'm here for you, and not really be here for yourself. The other person won't feel it. In college, I had a friend who almost committed suicide. She had a lot of pain in her, and the only way she knew how to block out that pain was by taking pills. And I remember the day that I learned that she had almost overdosed. They had to take her to the hospital and pump out her stomach. I was very angry, because by that time I knew that this is not the way out. And I was very angry with her for choosing that. And she explained to me that she didn't choose to do that. She didn't want to die. It's just she didn't know any other way out. She just wanted to block the pain, to stop feeling that in any way that she could. And that was the only tools that she had. That was the only avenue. So I really wish that moving forward in our family life, in our interactions with our peers, that we're able to emphasize this point, that there are ways to take care. As bad as any situation is, there are many ways to take care of our difficulties of reaching out, and we do not have to bear things alone. And as adults, if we know that there are very deep undercurrents going through the hearts, the minds of our youths, then we know that we have that responsibility to practice, to open up and communicate with them. Because we all need help to open up that door. Here we try to also water that seed in the young people. They have difficulty to talk with their parents. They have difficulty to talk with their classmates. And we share with them that these tools are there, but they need help. If the older folks meet them halfway, it makes it much easier. Sometimes kids don't know how to be present, and we can show them how. We can let them know that despite all their orneriness or their difficulties, that we're still patient and willing to meet them halfway. It makes it much easier for them. It's easier when we are able to practice this with them when they're young, because as we grow older, as youths grow older, more and more there's a lot of pressure, there's a lot of other input coming into their minds. And in a way, it's a kind of critical window. How to water the freshness, the hope, the lines of communication when they're still right there in your home. You still have time and space to share with them the beauties of life, so that when things do get difficult, they remember those happy moments that can save their life, that can ground them and help them make better choices when they're faced with a lot of peer pressure outside. I think the way our society is, once children go to school, once you hit middle school and you hit high school, you're probably interacting a lot more with your peers than with your parents. For the teens, is that your experience? You have more interactions with your peers, more time than with your... Raise your hand if that's the truth, right? And the truth is, we don't have much family time. So we just recognize that this is the way things are right now, and we have to make good use of the time that we do have together to connect, to reconnect, to help our children reconnect with what's going on inside of them. Because we sing Flower Fresh, Mountain Solid, and a lot of us don't like that song so much, right? Because it's not so fresh for us anymore. It's true. But the heart of it is, how solid are we when we meet difficulties? So parents, don't be fooled by that outside shell that our young folk put up to protect themselves. Because like I said, we all need that help throughout our life, especially when we're growing up. So please have that faith that the practice, so important, so essential, to continue to reach out first towards yourself and then towards your children, even if they say they don't want it, even if they're rude, even if they push you away. Because time, that critical window is, it's not there long, and time is short. And things are impermanent, so we never know if we will have that opportunity again to share what's in our heart. I'm very touched by our beginning anew the other day. What I touch is a lot of deep feelings that our parents have for their kids, and vice versa, that haven't been yet expressed. In Buddhism, love, there's a kind of spaciousness, there's a equanimity in that love. It's flowing. So when we touch that in our communication, we know that this is something we need to practice a little more. We don't have to wait for a retreat to be able to say these things deep in our heart. We don't even have to wait for a beginning a new session once a week. But we take that as a real, a lifeline. Got to open up those lines, and whenever we touch gratitude, whenever we touch regret, to take that opportunity to say, I'm going to make this happen. I do appreciate this about you. I just wanted to let you know. And I'm really sorry about the other day. I just was unskillful. Day by day and bit by bit, we can help our children to be able to open up those communications so that when they have difficulty, it won't be like something totally foreign to them. What? Talk to my dad about that? Are you kidding me? He would never understand. Our kids only feel that we understand them if we share with them, if we are interested to hear what's going on, and we share about what's going on with our lives. And for the younger ones, there's such a wealth of information that your parents have. Maybe it's hard to touch it right now because they seem so busy. But if you are skillful and you know the right questions to ask, not only will you learn so much about your family, but you will learn so much about yourself. Because the kind of things that you do and the kind of habits you have and the kind of difficulties that you encounter, your parents had them 30, 40, 50 years back. So we can learn from the older generations if we have the wisdom to ask the questions and the practice to be present for them, to listen more deeply. And it would make them so happy to be able to share a little bit of their wisdom and experiences with you. So the issue is really, do you have the interest? Of course you do. And do you have the time? Of course you do. If you make that a priority, you can always make time for these practices to penetrate into your daily life. We ask the children to help initiate some of these conversations with their parents because we know parents need help too. Parents are here to look for ways to refresh themselves, to find some space, and to make quality time for their family, but they can't do it by themselves. If the children are not willing to open up and be present, it's very hard to keep running after, chasing after. So let's all do each other a favor and help each other out. Okay? I know the youths, they have a lot of wisdom in their own experiences too. And their parents, they also need help to understand what changes are going on in them, what things are different from generation to generation. And it is all possible if we can learn how to speak from our heart. So thank you very much for listening. Excuse my emotions. I'm touching something deep inside. I appreciate the presence and the support of the whole community. Thank you. So before we continue, maybe we'd like to invite everyone to stand up and we'll do a few stretches before Dave's sharing. Thank you.
Just raise our hands in front of us as if we had arms 100 feet long. Stretch out and exhale. In. Out. Pretend you have a ball there. Balls. And while you're up here, turn your palms around. Imagine you have eyes in the palms of your hands. Just scan around. Turn around. Make sure you catch all the corners. now, shake your hands out in front of you. Imagine you're a dog that's wet, but just has to shake all the water off your body. Once more, raise your arms as if you're in warm, salty water. Turn your palms outward. Don't just scan around at the people beside you. How does it feel to sense and feel other people's energy? Let the elbows be soft so you can really let it come in. When you're ready, let's go all the way up to the top. Breathing in. And this time, when we exhale, one vertebrae at a time, we let our spine collapse. And if you have any back problems, be careful. Stretch down. And then back up each vertebrae. Now, this is what I need to do. Spread your legs shoulder width. And this time we're going to go all the way. Bend our knee. Coming back up. Risky one more. Hands on the hip. Coming up on one leg, stretching out. Coming up on the leg. Still see tides. This is 84? 87? 3 years, 87. Please be seated. So just let me start by saying, bald is beautiful. Bald is beautiful. Come on. I don't even need to shave my head. And for all the people in the tents, I was informed by a friend of mine at the Four Seasons that we'll have breakfast in bed tomorrow. They're going to deliver to each tent. Oh, yeah. It's a very intimate space. But I have a story I want to tell you about a man. I grew up in Washington, Pennsylvania. It's a small town south of Pittsburgh. And it has more cows than any other county in Pennsylvania. So, a lot of cows and a lot of chickens. So, this story is about this man who lived on a farm. And one morning he woke up and he experienced himself as an ear of corn. He woke up, I'm an ear of corn. And that was his, he didn't know what to do because he lived in the middle of a farm. Right? So every time he went near the door, he could see the chickens, and he said, I'm not going out there. Right? I mean, just imagine. So, luckily, he had a very close family, and they arranged to get him some really dark sunglasses, and escort him out to their car and take him to a treatment center. And it took time, but you know, he had Reiki, he had pillow punching, he had primal screaming. Can you add to my list? He had psychodrama. No, he didn't have mindful breathing. That's the problem. So he comes back. He's finally convinced his therapist that he's ready. He looks in the mirror and he says, "I no longer am an ear of corn. I know that I'm a man." And so he comes back to the farm, and he's very bold and very brave, and he breaks the sunglasses in two, and he says, "I'm just going to walk in there and be a man." Anyway, as soon as he sees the first chicken, he starts freaking out. "Ah! I don't know what to do." So his family collects and gathers around him, and they say, "You went through all this therapy. What is it? We know who you are." And he said, "Yes, I know you know I'm a man, but who's going to tell the chickens?" So I want to ask you, what are you? I know you're not an ear of corn, but who do you think you are? I remember when Ty invited me to be in the Healing Wounds of War retreats. One of the first thing he said was, I'm not a Vietnamese. Don't look at me like a Vietnamese. And I will not look at you as an American. I will not look at you as a Caucasian or a person of color. We are human beings. And we are on this planet with the same problems, the same conditions, the same hardships that we need to work out. And ever since Ty said that, I've just been committed. I say anyone in my Sangha, anyone in my community, we have a commitment to working things out. We can be the polar opposite. We can be the extreme. And I know there is a way that I can connect with you that neither diminishes you nor diminishes me. I just wanted to honor our teacher, Te. And I just wanted to say what I love the most about Thai. And I don't know the relationship you have with Thai. I would love to sit down with every one of you and hear your story and listen to the bodhisattvas that have come through your life. We all have bodhisattvas around us that have guided us throughout our lives. And those bodhisattvas in my life kept me alive, kept me encouraged and confident. And I know that each one of us has a hardship to transform, at least one. Each one of us has a hardship. And those bodhisattvas enter our hearts, and they help us and guide us. So think in your life, your mentors, the people that inspired you. And so we are not just this collection of people sitting here. We are the bodhisattvas who helped us along the way. They're here with us today. Even though we can't touch them in a physical sense, we know that they're here. We can feel their presence. And by being who we are, we magnify their presence. We honor them. So I honor my teacher. My spiritual father, Thai. So what do I love about Thai? I love his happiness and his laughter. Sure, he was exiled from Vietnam. Sure, he suffered several assassination attempts, carried wounded and dead, treated sick, and rebuilt villages, along with his community. Advocated for rescuing boat people. Migrated to the United States after Paris peace talks. And Robert McNamara, the Secretary of Defense, even canceled his afternoon meetings to extend his consultation with Thai. Shortly after, he withdrew from being Secretary of Defense. My teacher has a great laughter. He befriended Martin Luther King to stand against the war. And I've met some of King's inside cadre who said they strongly advised Dr. King not to take a stand against the Vietnam War. But as you know, injustice for one is injustice for all. My teacher befriended Thomas Merton. And Thomas Merton said, I knew Thich Nhat Hanh was a Zen master when he came into my hut. The way he opened and closed the door. Thai brought me to the Vietnam War Memorial along with 1,000 other people. And we walked single file through the wall, by the wall, and I inherently just said, the wall is over here, but the Vietnamese that perish are over here. And we managed, dealing with the police who were providing security, we managed to convince the officials at the War Memorial Wall to let us continue. And when I was walking along the wall, I said, you know, sometimes I'll just ask questions in thin air. I say, show me that this war can be resolved in people's minds. And I looked up, I pointed my finger at the wall, and there, I looked at hundreds of names on the wall, but I pointed my finger and I said, there's a man that I know, the brother of a friend of mine, a poet who was killed in Vietnam. I took that to be a sign. He provides protection for me. Last October when I was here, I had the privilege of sitting around him at the breakfast table, and I managed to have a few words with him. I said, I speak to you when you're not here. And I know that you protect me. And I know that if my life is difficult and I'm unsure, that I can light a stick of incense and listen to you. So. It's been a wonderful 25 years since I met Thai. I credit him for saving my relationship with my father, with my son. My son, but all four of my children have been part of the children's program. My oldest two children are in their 30s, and they were part of the children's program when there was almost no children's program. Sister Chong Kong and maybe Phap Dong, I'm not sure how to pronounce his last name, but, and myself. But my oldest son, who has been estranged from me for 20 years, has come back. let me correct that. It has not been 20 years. It's been 15 years maybe. It's been a one-way communication, and I've tried to bring him back into my life, and for whatever reason he hasn't wanted to come. But we live with unhappiness, and like Sister said, we live with faith. And I always held a space of healing. One of my bodhisattvas told me, Dave, he said, sometimes the best thing you can do is pray. Sometimes the best thing you can do is hold the person you're in conflict with in your heart. So, Zach is back. And I think it took my daughter's wedding to get him back. My oldest daughter just got married. And that's what it took. And now that he's returned, it's an open-ended question. It's a mystery. I will attempt to give him my heart, and luckily I have a partner and a family who are very skilled at loving each other. And my Zach, he's actually engaged. I met his fiancée. She's extraordinary. So, thank you, Ty. I have this, so many stories about Ty that I could tell you, and there's not time. But just know this practice is an adventure for me, and it's a manifestation of love. We learn to embrace whatever it is. We learn to embrace ourselves. Yeah. Just put your hand on your heart and breathe into your heart and feel the wisdom of your heart. And we say that the first Sangha is our 5 skandhas. It's our form, our feelings, our perceptions, our mental formations, our consciousness. We have to learn how to be healthy. We have to learn to honor all of our skandhas. And then we can expand out into relationship. And I know it's not easy because it's taken me, so many people here know that they can verify that the campground has had a lot of yelling. My anger can escalate, and my children push me past the brink. And yet, this year is so much easier. just take a few more minutes. But I know that my second visit to Plum Village, no, my first visit, Thai said, I want you to meditate 24 hours a day. 24 hours. I want you to meditate. And that's what I experience when I come to Blue Cliff. When I arrive here, obviously it takes me a day or a day and a half to like shed the weight of the world, the dust of the callous city life that I lead. But then I arrive, and then I can meditate 24 hours a day. Not always, but, So we build our practice, and we create safety and community. Good. And the last thing I want to say is I just want to honor my father. My father, Richard Dimmick. He died early this year, and at the ripe age of 92. And I want us to use him as a way for us to honor our fathers and our mothers. Thai helped me heal my relationship with my father, and my father died happily. He died. We had a farewell hug. And he didn't regret anything. Maybe we could end our session by singing I Have Arrived. I have arrived, I am home, in the here and in the now. I have arrived, I am home, in the here and in the now. Just let me have a PS, an addendum, honoring not only our father and mother, but honoring if we have two mothers or two fathers. We honor all of our parents. Thank you.